Welcome to Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel. Hello, 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 gorgeous people. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel, where we share stories of hope, inspiration, and determination for ladies who may still be on their breast cancer journey or who may have completed treatment and feel just a little bit stuck, right? We want you to know that breast cancer may be one chapter in your story, but it is not the whole book. And not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. And I am your host, D. Manuel Cloud. I am a two-time breast cancer survivor, now 16 years in remission. I am also a breast cancer recovery coach, a best-selling author, and an international speaker. And today I have with me the lovely Karin Maestro. Karin, say hi to the people.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Dee. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. I assure you, the pleasure is all mine. So we're going to just jump right in, Karin. And one of the first things I always like to ask, because I feel like it helps our viewers relate to us, is the age you were at diagnosis, the type of diagnosis, and the treatment plan you opted for.
I had to take a breath before I answer all of that, right? Because it's a lot. Okay, so I was age 52 at when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was diagnosed with stage 1 invasive ductal carcinoma, estrogen and progesterone positive, HER2 negative. And I also found out that I carry the BRCA2 genetic mutation, which I did not know prior to receiving that diagnosis. So as you can imagine, that actually affected my treatment plan. And I made some choices because of being at such a high risk. So, and just for anybody that's wants to know about the BRCA2 or the BRCA1 or any kind of the genetic mutations, the testing for it is very, very easy. So it's literally a saliva test. You spit into a little tube. So it's super, super easy. I did not have a history of breast cancer in my family. There were lots of other cancers, but it was actually only my paternal grandmother who had had breast cancer. But because of all of the other cancers, the genetic counselor decided to test, thankfully, because it empowered me and also my 2 adult children who also carry the genetic mutation. But it empowered us to take control and figure out what we wanted to do with our treatments and with our lives. So for my treatment plan, as soon as I heard that I had that genetic mutation, I knew that I would do a double mastectomy, even though the cancer was in my right breast only. I decided to do something called a skin and nipple sparing mastectomy, where I got to keep the aesthetic. Part of the reason for that was because my cancer was very, very close to my chest wall. Mm-hmm. And so if it had been any closer to the outside and to my skin or my nipple, I would not have made that decision. But, and I want to say this, I think we all make decisions, very difficult decisions. I think life-altering decisions under a lot of pressure, feeling, even if we're told you've got time, it still feels like we have to make a decision, and it's an important one. So I just want to acknowledge that, because I made some decisions early on that, looking back now, I wouldn't have made. So
like what? Sure.
Like what? Yeah. So I did the nipple and skin sparing double mastectomy with delayed reconstruction. So at the time I was planning on getting implants. We delayed the reconstruction because we didn't know at that time whether I would need chemotherapy or not. I was one of the lucky ones. I was fortunate. I did not need chemotherapy. They did an oncotype DX score. Mine was extremely low. And so that did not make me a good candidate for chemotherapy. My next, what I ended up going through was 7 surgeries in 2 years. That was my treatment plan, all of these surgeries. And it was almost every 3 months I was going for another major surgery. So my next surgery was actually a hysterectomy, complete hysterectomy, again, because of the BRCA2 genetic mutation. At that point in time, I was put on letrozole, an aromatase inhibitor, blocking my body from making any estrogen because my tumors had been estrogen receptive, so hormone receptive. 3 months later, I had expanders put in, and I'd love to share a funny story about the expanders, if I may. I know you and I share a goofy sense of humor, so I hope that this also is going to resonate with our viewers today. But those of you that have expanders, there's a little magnet that they use to determine where to inject to expand the expander. And did you know that you can attach fridge magnets to these expanders? I guess you didn't.
I did not know that.
I think I just snorted. So sorry about that, but yes. So that's how strong the magnet is. You can actually attach a fridge magnet. So my husband, of course, had a lot of fun, like attaching different fridge magnets. I think and this is such a serious topic, but I think we can both relate to the fact that humor helped get us through it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I remember being in the hospital after my unilateral mastectomy, and the only thing I wanted to watch was comedies. But I had also had the D flap where they had cut me from hip to hip. So watching comedies was painful.
Oh, yes. Yes, it would
But
be.
it was all I wanted to watch. I just wanted to stay in good spirits because I agree with you so much, Karin, that humor is the gateway to our healing as well.
Yeah, very much so. And I have to, give kudos to my husband and to my kids who really all jumped in on that. Like it was really they say it takes a village. It certainly does. And my village was a comedy village. I mean, it was awesome what they all did to keep me in good spirits. But my husband on a daily basis, he hasn't stopped, by the way. He will continue to do that, which is amazing and such a gift, right? So from expanders, I went to exchange surgery 3 months later, and that surgery was actually on New Year's Eve. So my daughter bought props to every single surgery. And so, of course, she bought a crown for New Year's Eve. I'm going into surgery on New Year's Eve, and she bought me like a, New Year's Eve crown. So I have pictures of me like coming out of surgery, all kind of groggy, but I've got this crown on my head still.
I love your family.
Yeah, so it was awesome. So at that point in time, then I had my implants, right? And there was a mindset of, okay, new year, new life. And by the way, I had been told early on that I was not a good candidate for deep flap. So it was either, and really implants were the only option that I was given. Going flat wasn't even something that was discussed at that point in time. I was diagnosed in 2018. Now, I lived with those implants for a year. And what happened to my health over that year, I think is really important to share, because what I started to experience, and for those of you that have implants, I want you to know that this isn't necessarily going to be your experience, but I think it's really important to have on your radar what can happen. I started to experience symptoms that are common with breast implant illness. And these were things like horrific fatigue, like literally having trouble getting out of bed, body aches, brain fog, where I would sit down at my computer and not remember how to send an email. At one point, my husband thought I was having a stroke. I was slurring my words. Just really scary, really
Mhm.
horrific. And my medical team across the board said it's the letrozole. These are side effects that are common with letrozole, which they can be. They can be. And so it took about a year, a lot of research. I made some really great connections with some amazing people who do phenomenal work with breast implant illness. And my husband and I, because I do believe that it's a joint decision, made the decision that I would remove the implants and go flat. I can tell you that was the best decision I ever made. I got my life back that day. I really did. I just got goosebumps. Number one, when I woke up from surgery, I could take a breath. I hadn't been able to take a deep breath when I had those implants. Number two, I could feel my husband when he hugged me, like feel him, because there's no sensation with implants. I could actually feel him. Like I cried. I'm like, oh my gosh, to actually feel a hug again and what that feels like. But then within 1 week, the fatigue was gone. The muscle aches and pains were gone. The brain fog was gone. I mean, I had over 25 symptoms. I won't go into all of them, but anybody feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. But within weeks, they were gone.
Wow.
Now, I'm on letrozole for 10 years. They recently just did the breast cancer index test for me. And because of the BRCA2 genetic mutation and my original tumor, I'm at a high risk. So they're not prepared to take me off letrozole right now. I could have lived for 10 years being debilitated in that way had I not chosen. And it was a leap of faith. I want to tell you, there is no test. Tests are coming for breast implant illness. They don't exist right now, but there's a lot of work going on and they're coming. But it's just, it was one of those instances where it was a leap of faith. I had to trust my gut. I know my body better, and everybody knows their body better than anybody else does. And I know how to listen to her. And she speaks to me. And as does yours. Your body speaks to you. And I really, that was really me honoring my body and what she was asking me to do. And like I said, I got my life back that day. Really.
I love that.
And it's a brave decision. It's a courageous decision. And I don't wear prosthetics. I didn't wear them at my daughter's wedding or anything like that. I am a little bit concave in what I like to say because I like to speak kindly to my body. I believe our body is our vessel that carries us through this and everything that we go through. And I like to treat her with kindness and respect, right?
Yes.
And speak to her that way. So
yes, everything she does for us on a daily basis.
It's 100%, 100%. And so I say that these are footprints where my breasts once lay.
I love it.
And I've heard other people describe it as a deformity or things like that. And that just didn't resonate with me or how I want to speak to myself. And so, as you know, our words, our thoughts, they matter. And so that's how I came up with that phrase for myself.
I love it. It's a footprint from your journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll often see me like giving love, to that area.
I love it. Oh my God. Thank you. I love everything that you just shared, Karin. I love what you shared about trusting your gut and knowing your body and listening to your body, right? And the powerful decision to go flat, because I do think it's a powerful decision and a choice that warriors can make, right? Like you don't have to get implants, you don't have to go through the tissue expanders, you don't have to go through any of those things. You can choose to bypass all of that and simply go flat and still love your body and appreciate your body for what it
Mhm.
does for you on a daily basis. The
Mhm.
fact that we're still able to take deep breaths, the fact that we're able to move, the fact that we have two legs, two arms, right? Because there are people who are living with all types of prosthetics, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to love and appreciate our bodies for what our bodies do for us daily.
Yeah, 100%. And it, like I said, it really is a personal choice. And I don't believe there's a right or wrong decision here. We
I
make the
agree.
best decision that we can in the circumstances that we are, which is why I don't beat myself up for a choice that I made, when I was going through this initially. I made a choice, I should say, we made a choice that I believe was the best one for me. And it didn't work out. It doesn't mean that I'm a failure or that I did something wrong,
Absolutely.
right? And this is where I think it's important when we're making these tough decisions, make the one that you believe is the best one for you at that moment in time. We can always change, we can always make other decisions. And now you can opt for an aesthetic flat closure that is now available from plastic surgeons and breast surgeons as you are going through a mastectomy or a double mastectomy. It wasn't available when we were going through our initial surgeries.
Oh,
It is,
wow.
yeah, it is now. So, and that the wording is very, very careful here. You're not just asking for a flat closure, you're asking for an aesthetic flat closure.
And what does that entail specifically? Do you know?
Well, they're removing the breast tissue, but the aesthetic flat closure means that they are trying to make your chest as flat as possible. There's other procedures now that are available that weren't. So there's also something called a Goldilocks procedure where they can take some of your skin, roll it up, and make a little mound. So it's again your natural tissue, just not the same as a deep flat. But the aesthetic flat closure means that you are not left with what are known as dog ears under your
Hmm.
arms, which I have, by the way.
I
Um,
do too. I have dog ears down here.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's one of those things that for me, where if I was going through another surgery, would I have it amended? Yes. Does it bother me enough to make it be the surgery? No.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that we've been through so much. But it's the way that they close the chest after they've removed the breast tissue
Got it.
so that it's flat and you don't have the dog ears, by the way, are like little, it's like a dog ear that's got ears. It's little flaps, and mine are on the sides of under my arms. Like you're saying, D, yours are lower while you had your deep flap, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes.
So they're in different spots, but plastic surgeons are familiar with this now. There are different ways, the different patterns that you can close up the surgery that are still considered aesthetic. And so you just want somebody that knows what they're doing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you now, Karen, what lessons, if any, did you learn on your cancer journey?
So many, so many. I mean, I think number one, I always considered myself a patient person. Like I've been called angelic because of my patience in the past. But I want to tell you, I think that the waiting as you're going through breast cancer and going for a test and waiting 10 days for a result, waiting to find out what the tumor actually is, waiting to find out what the treatment, I think that involves a deeper level of patience than we've ever had to, for most of us anyway, ever had to go through in our lives before. And that for me doesn't end when treatment ends, because we're still going for checkups, we're still going for tests, we're still going for scans. I will be for the rest of my life as a BRCA2 genetic mutation, I mean, and so anytime I'm waiting for tests, and I've learned how to stay calm while waiting for those tests, by the way, I've created a whole method around it. But it's a whole different level of patience that we get to practice.
So I heard you say that One of the biggest lessons you've learned is a deeper level of patience while you wait. And I am imagining that you've taken this into other areas of your life where there's a newfound patience. Like you said, you've always been a patient person, but this is patience on a deeper level
Mhm.
where you are, and I'm assuming things here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, where you are not worrying while you wait.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right. It's this, I think that many of us experience higher levels of anxiety after breast cancer. It's actually one of the major side effects from
Mhm.
medication, from going through menopause, which is the most common, thing that we all experience after breast cancer. And so it's very common. And so instead of, which I used to be very, very anxious while I was waiting for these tests. And what I've learned is how to be able to calm my mind so that I
Mm.
can wait patiently instead of anxiously.
I love that. Calming your mind so you can wait patiently instead of anxiously. I think that's a skill that will serve most people, not just breast cancer survivors, but most people, because we have this tendency to worry. And I read this statistic that I want to share that says 97% of the things that we worry about never actually happen.
Mhm.
That's a whole lot of worrying for
Oh,
nothing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I love what you just shared about waiting patiently versus anxiously.
Yeah.
So tell me, Karen, what does it mean for you now to thrive, and how does that show up in your life?
Mm. It's such a wonderful question. Um, because I think there's so many, there's like a million answers I can give you, right? I think that I know because it's my focus in life is to thrive, not just survive. I think when we're stuck in survival mode, we're stuck in that place of living with fear, like constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, anxious, feeling like we're not doing anything to lower the risk, therefore we're just kind of waiting to get sick again. And thriving for me is linked to being proactive, right?
Mm,
Linked to taking control of what you can control, which is not a lot in this life, by the way. It's very little, right? When we talk about 97% of the time, we're worrying about things that are really outside of our control. So if we can focus on what we can control, this beautiful vessel that we all have, and how we think, and what we do, and how we talk to ourselves, and how we treat ourselves, and the food that we eat, how we choose to move our body. Creating what I like to call a resilient routine, which is not perfection, by the way. A resilient routine is something that ebbs and flows with life, because life ebbs and flows, right? Life is not, as we know, it's not linear. And so I really invite you to think about this because this is a game changer. Is instead of putting a lot of pressure on yourself, survival mode, not thriving mode. When we're putting pressure on ourselves, we're in that survival mode. We're trying to go all in on changing all of our lifestyle habits, right? Oh my gosh, I've got to completely change what I'm eating. I've got to get to the gym 5 days a week. I've got to, oh gosh, I've got to meditate for half an hour every morning. Otherwise, it's not good enough. Ooh, that's a big, big, big term there. So with a resilient routine, we're ebbing and flowing. So that might mean instead of putting the pressure on yourself to completely change your nutrition, it might mean, hey, you know what? If I add an extra vegetable at dinner every night, I'm heading in the right direction,
absolutely.
right? Even if you don't have the energy to cook and you order pizza, then you get a side of veggies, right? No, so no matter what you're doing, you're saying that is my You're adapting what you're doing. You're not giving up on it, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Small changes, big impact.
yes, huge. And what were you and I talking about earlier? Celebrating the little wins, right? Before we hopped on, Dee and I had a little chat about how we both like to celebrate the little wins. And we so often think that the little things are not enough, but they are. They are.
Absolutely.
The little things are how we actually get there,
To the big
especially,
things.
yeah,
It's how we get to the big things. I love what you just did with the
yeah,
stacking,
it's a
right?
little ladder. Well, I like to think of two ladders, right? So one ladder has got a lot of little steps, and the other ladder has got three big steps with a lot of distance between them. And you think about where are you going to get to the top quickest? By doing
Absolutely.
the little steps, because it's hard to reach that first big step while you're saying, I have to change everything in my life. And
Absolutely.
when we're exhausted, overwhelmed, stressed out, like going through treatment and after treatment, that is just not realistic at all. So I love to say, and I give you permission to offer yourself grace and space.
Grace and space. And one of the things you talked a lot about, um, creating a resilient routine and how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves. And one of the things that I want to share with anybody who's watching is something that I've adapted for myself, and that is talking to myself like I'm someone I love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, how would I
Yep.
talk to my child? How would I talk to
Yes.
my mom? How would I talk to my spouse? These people that I love with every fiber of my being, I would give them all the grace and compassion in the world. So it's just as important that I do that for myself.
Yeah, but we have to learn, right? I
Yes.
I didn't used to do that. I used to be my own toughest critic.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Um,
most of us.
and I had to learn how to unlearn that, right? We have to unlearn those behaviors so that we can learn some ones that feel better, are
Absolutely.
so much more enjoyable. And when we talk about thriving, ease is a word that comes to mind for me, right? Where things come with ease, where I'm not having to push, where I'm not having to and I'm not saying that personal growth, personal development, healthy habits are things that I eat, breathe, and sleep. But I believe that they can be simple things that are done with ease and that
Mhm.
they don't have to be hard.
Absolutely. One of the things that I teach is, to your point, making sure that you're adding more of those things that are good for you, is to get a salad crisper. You can get a salad crisper on
Mm,
Amazon for next to nothing. And to make sure that you keep an antioxidant salad in your
mhm.
refrigerator. And before each meal, just grab a handful of that salad and make sure that you're feeding your body more of what it needs, the anti-cancer foods, the blueberries, the walnuts, the kale, the spinach, right? Make sure that you're getting more of those foods. And then to your point, have your damn slice of pizza, right? But make sure that you're doing just a little bit. I am a gym rat. I believe in being in the gym 5 days a week, but not just because I read that working out can reduce the risk of a cancer recurrence
Mhm.
exponentially, right? I also love what it does for my body. A body in motion stays in motion. I love what it does for my mental health, right?
Mhm.
There's less brain fog. I have more clarity when I'm working out. So,
Yeah.
to your point, just developing a resilient routine that works for you, that allows you to be kind to yourself while you're learning new, healthier habits.
Yeah. And I love what you just said about going to the gym. And I was a personal trainer for 10 years. I used to run biathlons. Like that was my life until a life altering car accident. But so I also, I mean, a body, we need to move. It is a necessary function of our body. So we need to move. And with a resilient routine, it's important to notice that we're not taking a vote. So we're not saying, am I going to move today or not? We're not taking that vote because if we're tired, we're going to say no. right?
Right.
But what we're going to do is adapt what we're doing. So instead of perhaps an intense routine at the gym, maybe we're going to go take a yoga class or do some stretching or something else, or go for a walk.
Go for a walk around the
Go
block,
for a
right?
walk. So we're
Get out
not
in
letting
nature.
ourselves off the hook. We're not taking a vote where we're giving ourselves the opportunity to say no, because that's an old habit that many people have fallen into. But instead, we're going to adapt it, and we're going to say, what do I get to do instead?
I love that. What do I get to do instead? Because it
Right.
is a choice still.
It's a choice. It's always a choice. And understanding that you are here and you get to move your body, you get to eat healthy food, you get to practice mindfulness, you get to do all of these things. I mean, talk about thriving. You have now got this tremendous opportunity to look at your life through a different lens and really cherish your body, yourself, and how, and here's what I always see. We call it the ripple effect, and I'm sure it's something you're very familiar with as a coach. But when we change, people around us change, right?
The
So
gift that keeps on giving.
gift that keeps on giving. And so this isn't selfish. This isn't just about you. This is about, when you take care of you, what do you bring to others? And the British in me refers to my body as a teapot. Okay. And I think of our energy as the level of tea in that teapot. So for many people, we're waking up in the morning and our teapot isn't full, right? We're waking up and we're not like jumping out of bed and ready to go. And so we get to be mindful about whose teacups are we pouring into all day long. Because most of the time we're pouring and pouring and pouring into others. And I'm a caregiver, you're a caregiver. This is who we are in our core. This is what we do. But we have learned how to take care of ourselves first. And so to me, the question that we get to ask ourselves every day is, how am I going to top up my teapot today so that I get to keep pouring?
Absolutely.
Right.
And
So
creating that ripple effect.
exactly. Exactly.
I love
And
that.
thinking about why did you fight? Why are you here?
Absolutely.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. So,
Make it
Karen, tell
happen.
the people what you're up to now and how they can reach you.
Well, these days, after going through breast cancer, I shifted my entire coaching practice to support breast cancer survivors after treatment has ended, because I noticed that there was a big drop off in support from our medical team and everybody else. And it's kind of an area where I'm uniquely qualified to step in and say, hey, let me hold your hand and guide you through this next stage of recovery. And so I coach one-on-one, but more than that, I created a group coaching program called Thrivership School. It is primarily for breast cancer survivors, so that you get to connect with other women on this journey. And it is just for women. I know that men go through breast cancer too. Unfortunately, this group is for women. That is their vote. And I get to support them as they go through this next stage of recovery. And so that's what I'm doing in my coaching practice now.
I
And
love it. So you and I are aligned
we
because
are very much aligned.
I do the exact same thing. So tell us
Mhm.
how they can get in touch with you, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a Facebook group, Healthy Living After Breast Cancer. It's probably the best place. I'm in there every week doing some lives and sharing a lot of tidbits. But also feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. I like to connect with people. I love technology, but like I like people a whole lot better. And so having a real conversation with somebody is much more important to me than anything else. And so feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, which is at Karin, Karin, Del, 34. And those are the best places to find me hanging out for sure. And then, of course, my website, KarenDelMaestro.com.
I love it. My last question for you. Well, before I go into that, can you just repeat how they can reach you one more time? Because we want to make sure they don't miss that.
Thank you. Of course. So the Facebook group is Healthy Living After Breast Cancer. Instagram at Karin, Karin, Del, 34. And then my website, KarinDelMaestro.com.
Perfect. So,
Thank you.
Karen, what advice would you give to any women who are still on their breast cancer journey or who may have just completed treatment?
Mm. I think number one for me, and I'm saying this because, like you, we speak to hundreds of people who have gone through this journey, and there's a common thread for me, and that's how alone people feel. And I don't want anybody to feel alone. I want you to know that there is support out there. So whether it's Dee, whether it's myself, whether it's support groups, I host a monthly free support group. There are resources out there for everybody, no matter where you are. And I want you to know that you are not alone. Please ask for the support that you deserve, and you do deserve it. It's important that we have support from people who get it.
Love it. And how can they get in touch with your and be a part of your monthly support group?
If you come into my Facebook group, everything's announced in there. It's the first Saturday of every month. I co-host it with a dear friend of mine who's also a breast cancer warrior, Dr. Christina Hibbett, clinical psychologist. And it's just, it's a space where you get to come and just speak what's on your mind and on your heart and not be judged.
Yes. I myself also have a group, a monthly support group is what I'm trying to say. And it's called the Thriving Sisters Circle. And like
I love
Karen, you can get into my Facebook group, Thriving on Purpose, and all of the announcements are made in there. But Karen, thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you for supporting breast cancer survivors, because there is such a huge gap between when treatment ends to when we start to feel better in some sense of normalcy, and then better than ever before, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the space that you and I are working to get women in, and that's the space to where it's better than ever before, right?
100%.
So thank you so much. Do you have anything that you want to share before we disconnect?
Well, first of all, you and I are never disconnecting, right? With
That's true. We're breasties for life.
We're breasties for life. And one of the things I always say is breast cancer is the club that you never, ever wanted to be part of or thought that you would be. But I have found that it is the most amazing, unbreakable sisterhood that you could ever imagine. And I have met really some phenomenal people, humans, that as like yourself going through this journey that I don't know that I would have met otherwise. So I want to thank you for the work that you are doing, for serving the breast cancer community the way that you do. I know this will not be the last time that we connect and do something together, or even just have a cup of tea. But, thank you for everything that you do. But know that you're not alone. Anybody that's listening, you are not alone. Connect with Dee, connect with me, or anybody else that is in this space, because we're here with an open heart and with arms to wrap around you and give you a virtual hug, right? Sincerely. So thank you.
I love it. We're here to be the wind beneath your wings, right? To help you soar. I love
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Karen. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in to this episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel where we share stories of hope, inspiration, and determination for women who may still be on their breast cancer journey, and for those who have completed treatment but may be feeling just a little bit stuck. You can reach out to Karin Del Maestro. You can reach out to myself. Get the support that you deserve. But Karin and I are a stand that you realize that breast cancer may be one part of your story. It is not the whole book. And that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. So if you loved what you've heard today with Karin and I, Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can hear more inspirational stories just like Karen's. So thank y'all for tuning in. We love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And remember, we're thriving on purpose. Bye for now. For more inspirational stories like these, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to turn on your notifications. Thank you for rocking with us. And remember, we're thriving on purpose.